Christmas gifts with Bert. Bert. I'm so happy to see him, like, not a retired 60-year-old boxer, you know, not another YouTuber. He talks about as if he's a real boxer, and he skipped his way to the top. Like, he hasn't put in the years and the lower level fights and, you know, the exhibitions and the lead ups and all that. It still sucks because he still made millions and millions of dollars off this, but at least he can stop running his fucking mouth now. Even when Jake Paul ate that punch and landed on his ass, the knockout punch, the first thing he said was, wow. I don't think he's ever been hit by a real heavyweight boxer.
Because we're never dropping out. Beat the odds, beat the big house. The brains are bigger than the doubt. We've been thinking for ourselves, never let the truth fade away. This is bigger than ourselves, we won't let the world burn away.
I think Trump did that to take attention away from the Epstein files. So the Kennedy Center was named by passing of a law. I don't think he can just rename it without passing a law. Anthony Joshua is a British boxer. He's pretty good. I mean, he hasn't fought in about a year and a half or something, but He's pretty good. He's a big guy. He's a lot bigger than Jake Paul, that's for sure. Well, I suppose. Fucking Eeyore. All right, let's do it. Who am I not mentioning? On my end, it says redacted. Did you mention somebody, or did you actually put redacted in there? Or is it something that got blocked by the thing? Good luck with your scan results. You know, I was going to say I'm excited for you, but it's kind of like the jitters, right? You're scared, but you also want it over with, but you want to see it, but you don't want, you know what I mean? It sucks, but hope for the best results for you. All right, let's do this.
Hey Daddies, it's me, the Linda Binda from TikTok. I wanted to make this video because I wanted to thank you for watching Cold Beer Confessionals with Will Bird. I think that's just incredible. I've watched a few episodes and I'm just like very intrigued. But you know what I'm most intrigued in is Big Daddy's meat stick. I heard that it's very thick, like a good old German sausage. You know, Linda and her coochie loves that. Oh, never mind. Let's not go there. Anyways, I hope you have a good show and enjoy it as you can. There's a lot of weird things that go on, especially when it comes from the realm of Linda Bindaland. So, enjoy the show. Thanks for watching. Peace out.
Oh, welcome everybody. I am Will Bird, and this is a Cold Beer Confessional. Thank you for joining us. So yeah, the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts was established by 1964 federal law. It was Public Law 88-260 to serve as a living memorial to President Kennedy, and changing its official name would require a new act of Congress to revise that original law, a point emphasized by legal experts and lawmakers who oppose recent board-approved name changes. So basically, Trump didn't approve to put his name on the Kennedy Center. What happened was he fired everybody that was on the board, put hand-picked people to be part of the board, and then suddenly that board that he hand-picked just happened to vote that they would rename it to the Donald Trump and John F. Kennedy Performing Arts Center. Kind of crazy, right? Anyways, I don't know. I think it's just another distraction. Obviously, it's not gonna. There has to be a law change. You can't just change the name of the fucking building. It would be one thing if the building had just been named this by people that were part of the board before, but it's actually a public law that named this building that, right? And Kennedy and his wife were kind of, at least to hear their family tell it, Kennedy was killed in 1963, right? And this was named in 1964. But Kennedy and his wife were responsible for bringing art and that type of stuff into the White House, and were very passionate about programs around art and music and literature and shit like that. So it makes sense that he got a performing arts center. But whatever. Donald Trump does what Donald Trump wants to, I guess. Who knows? All right, here's part of the fight. I haven't watched this video yet. It was just the first one that popped up, so here we go. So look how much bigger that AJ is. Uh-oh.
Sharonk 512
2 years, Sharon.
Subscribed for 24 months.
2 years. Thank you very much for the resubscription. I appreciate it. If you want to support the show, you can do that at the link that the mods have. It is just quick tools, blah, 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 whatever. It just sends you to whatever process you want to use. PayPal, buy me a coffee, or Dono Clip. We greatly appreciate that. That'd be awesome. Thank you for the resubscription. So basically, this whole fight kind of sucked, even to the point where the crowd was booing. Because Jake Paul, of course, his plan was to stay away from this much bigger guy, right? The guy's got 6 inches of reach on him. So we knew Jake Paul would be running around a lot. But when Jake got in a position to where he couldn't run out of it, he literally went down and grabbed the guy's legs every time. Like he went to his knees and grabbed AJ's legs and just held on to him. There was a couple times he went into a clinch. That didn't work out for him, so he went back to the legs. And finally, AJ got pissed and just shoved him off of him once. And there was another point where AJ fell down and his knee, Jake Paul grabbed his legs. They got tangled up kind of in the ropes, and his knee landed on Jake's chest, and they gave Jake up to 5 minutes, like a low blow, right? If someone hits you below the belt, you get like up to 5 minutes to kind of walk it off. So they gave him some time to walk it off, but that all kind of sucked. Like if you're going to slip and have to stay away from a guy, that's one thing, but to latch onto a guy's legs, what are you doing at that point? And the fights that Jake Paul did land, the shots that Jake Paul did land, a lot of them were blind, like drop his head, kind of duck, and just throw a punch up. AJ was heavily favored to win. In fact, if you bet $100 on Jake Paul, you would win like $600 or some shit. If you put $100 on AJ, you would win $106 or $105.23. Like it was insane. Jake was so fucking tired too, on the ropes and shit. Boom. See how he went and grabs his legs? Like if you're going down, go down and get back up or whatever, but why are you grabbing this dude's legs? Watch again.
He's getting tired.
Big hit here.
It's a knockdown. It's a knockdown.
Every time, dude.
This is it. He's going to get put out. He's gonna stop.
This is when he was like, you could tell that kind of rocked him.
This is it. You can't.
There's a really good shot of the final punch, the knockout punch, and as soon as Jake lands on his ass, he goes, wow. Like you can see him mouth, you can't hear him, but he goes, wow. Like the first time he really connected. I think he knocked Jake down 4 times total. Ooh. Ooh. That uppercut was nice. Jake's hands are down. He's sticking his tongue out. He's doing all kinds of stupid shit, but except for fighting. It was getting to the point where people just thought they were rigged. That was the knockout right there where he says, wow, you can't see it from this angle, but there's a different angle. What? What the fuck is happening in the YouTube chat? Boom. That was it. He couldn't get up before the 10 count. No one here likes Jake Paul. I don't know what the fuck. You're having an imaginary battle with yourself. Hope you win. I'm glad to see him finally get knocked the fuck out, dude. God. I wonder if we can get the angle where he says, wow. God, that uppercut was so clean, too. Had him up against the ropes. I couldn't stream it. Netflix has this shit on their website where it's just a black screen if I try to even put it in OBS when I'm not streaming.
He knows he's been hurt. His hands are down. It's just incredible.
The only way to stream it is to set a camera up staring at my screen, or find it on a different website, or set a camera up staring at my screen.
And even if he does land his best shot at the moment, not that much is
Right here.
And it almost...
Boom. Here we go. God damn. It rocks his head.
Down goes Paul!
6, 7, 8, 9.
To be fair, Jake got knocked down 3 times, and each time he got back up and said he wanted to continue. It looked like he was trying to get up that last time. But I fucking hate Jake Paul, dude.
And even if he does land his
He
best,
went 6 rounds, yeah.
not that much is going to happen. And it almost, oh, there's a left hook. Down.
The thing I hate the most is, like, yeah, I wanted to see Jake get put in his place, but also, Jake made millions and millions of, like, Netflix was hosting this. Like, this was huge. It was a big fucking deal. No, it was not. It was only scheduled for 8, which is crazy because they were making such a big deal of the fight before this that the women, so women usually go 10 rounds, right, or less. The champion that was fighting the challenger, picked that she wanted to go for 3-minute rounds for 12 rounds, right? And that was like the big story point. Like, these women are going 12 rounds just like the men do, and they made it all the way. And it went all 12 rounds. It won by decision. Went all 12 rounds. Bumgarner won. But they were making such a big deal about it. And then the Jake Paul fight comes up and is scheduled for 8 rounds.
And even if he does land his best shot at the moment, not that much is
Get the fuck out of here, Jake Paul.
Michael Bisping.
I want to see if I can find the angle where he says, wow, when he's on the ground. I know I saw it live on Netflix, but there was like, it wasn't during the fight. It was like, obviously after the fight. And it was like when they were doing like replays of him falling, he literally looks over to whoever's in his corner and goes, wow. Like, hell yeah. Hell yeah. Holy shit, the purse for this sham fight. Yeah. That's the only reason he can get people to agree to fight him, right? Because it doesn't benefit AJ any, right? Well, maybe it gets him a little bit of popularity, right? But most people are like younger people who are not interested in boxing. They care more about Jake Paul, right? They grew up with him, or they're still young enough to fucking enjoy his shit, or Logan Paul, or wrestling fans that saw his brothers. But that he pays them an absurd amount of money. It doesn't help him in his rankings. It's not going to get him a championship bout. No one's going to take him seriously. And by some reason, if fucking AJ loses, he'll be the fucking laughing stock of all of boxing. It's not like fucking Mike Tyson or whatever being retired and be like, oh, well, you know, I'm fucking 60 years old or whatever. Look at the height difference. Insane. Anyways, I'll find the clip in the next couple of days and show it to you, even if I have to steal it from Netflix and record it. Yeah, the odds were insanely stacked for AJ. And then, like the pre-fight commentary, everybody said AJ would win somewhere between the second round and the third round by complete and utter knockout. But I would get in the fight and run around from a guy and get knocked the fuck out and potentially get hurt for a few $1 million. Hell yeah. Like, what the fuck? Of course I would. And then while we're on the subjects of fights, did you guys see this? At the first Turning Point event since Charlie got kirked, there's some infighting going on, okay? Between the alt-rights and the Shapiros.
Fights are breaking out on the convention floor at this year's Turning Point USA America Fest. This is obviously the first convention they've held post Charlie Kirk, and it's really interesting because it seems like Charlie was holding the coalition together in a unique way, and now that he's gone, you see Ben Shapiro and Tucker Carlson literally going back and
No, that was Smiling Sam. He's a real fighter.
forth, taking jabs at each other on stage. You see fights breaking out on the ground between more far-right Nick Fuentes aligned people and the more center-right people who are trying to hold the conservative movement back from entering that really not
Smiling Sam actually lost the heavyweight belt in the karate combat that he's in. So he's like I forget what they call the weight below heavyweight in the karate combat, cruiserweight, whatever. So he held 2 belts. One for the heavyweight and then one for the group right below that. And he lost the heavyweight belt. He got knocked the fuck out. Smiling Sam.
territory. So it's interesting because there were rumors for months that Ben Shapiro was going to take the stage and use this as an opportunity to call out Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson, and the far right flank of his movement that honestly, genuinely is engaging in some very deep hatred towards Jewish people, towards other countries. It's some really sick stuff coming from the Nick Fuentes wing, and Tucker Carlson is normalizing that. Now, Ben Shapiro hasn't really cared about bigotry within his movement for the past decade. Ben Shapiro doesn't really care that much about bigotry towards minorities like trans people or black people, but once the Jewish community is involved, Ben Shapiro is now taking a huge stance with a lot of moral clarity, which he should. Anti-Semitism is awful, but it's just funny to see where he draws the line in particular. But this reads from Max Tani. Semaphore reported earlier this year that Ben Shapiro had planned to use the major Turning Point USA event to challenge Tucker Carlson, and it looks like he went through with it. Even beyond that, more fights were breaking out on the convention center floor. Let me show you this one between conservative John Doyle almost getting in a fist fight.
This guy got slapped too, didn't he? Was this at the same event? I just saw, hold on, let me go to TikTok. That Doyle guy got fucking, yeah, I see you, cute idiot. What's up? Did I miss some one of your comments or something? He was like heckling a guy saying, "Oh, you're Jewish, you're Jewish." What would I say? It's not Fuentes. Wasn't Nick Fuentes. It was a guy with him. I don't think I could search the word Nazi. Was that not the right guy? Jake Paul basically became famous making cringe content for kids, right? And he knew that. He would go on like news interviews and say, well, you know, my target audience is between 8 and 13. But he made like, not like pornographic or something, but like edgy stuff that kids probably shouldn't be seeing, right? And stuff that was just like terrorizing his neighbor, just doing stupid shit just to get attention. But it worked for him and his brother. And they both became famous doing that. He doesn't make that content anymore. What's the guy that, hold on. I have to look it up over here. And then he goes and tells Fuentes, that guy just slapped me. And the guy, and Nick Fuentes is like, well, you got slapped? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, oh, well, we better go. Damn it, I know it exists. 2025. It just happened because I just started seeing clips of it. Republican Gala. Is that what it was? Hayden McDougal. That's who it was. It wasn't the Doyle guy. Okay. If my name was Hayden McDougal, I would probably be a fucking Nazi too. Hayden McDougal slap. Yeah, here it is. I guess the mustache just confused me, maybe.
Invited him to your fucking club. You game.
This my
That was pretty good. He got the shit slapped out of him.
Invited him to your fucking club. You game.
He kind of looks like this guy, though, doesn't he? Or maybe it's just a mustache. This guy? Yeah, maybe not. This guy versus this guy. Similar, but I think that the mustache is just a new thing that they're all doing. All the neo-Nazis are doing it.
With a far-right groiper. This was happening a lot there.
Whoa, calm down.
So they're already taking swings at each other. I tell another person to watch out for if you've got young boys, whether they're your neighbor's kids and you're close to them, or your sister's kids or your grandkids or your kids or whatever. Aiden Ross. I would not let a young, impressionable teenage boy follow Aiden Ross at all. He just tried to get an NFL player to do an anti-Semitic dance after scoring a touchdown. And the player agreed to it, not knowing what it was. He didn't actually do it, but he had to come out and apologize for even saying that he would do it.
Went on the show and it's like, oh, yeah, I insulted him. He insulted me, a little gateway possibly. Oh, it's not me. It's animosity. There's no animosity. They just said, oh, the gateway talks. He's not a serious person. Really, he's not. He's not getting millions of people watching him. I go to the high schools, and those students there are watching him.
This is some weird
We parked right here.
ass, loser ass
She didn't remember. I just flashed the video and she's like, oh, I remember. Look at me. I'm special. Like we don't all know she's from New Jersey.
writing shit. So this guy on the left, who talks exactly like Nick Fuentes, is defending the amount of views that Nick Fuentes gets in front of a group of other guys. Dude, why are you, as a fully grown man, defending another fully grown man's view and subscriber counter on the convention center floor, and a fight breaks out because of it? This is some intense shit. He's like, Nick Fuentes has more followers than you. And he's like, no, he doesn't. They're just fighting like actual losers. And then John Doyle squares up. Listen, I don't think you should fist fight over politics.
If you want to talk about Nick Fuentes, he does have support, but what happened to Cozy? Right? Cozy was his streaming service. I got invited to stream on Cozy, sorta. One guy that worked for Nick said that he could get me an invite if I was serious about it, blah, 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 and send me a bunch of emails.
But I'm always going to be taking the side of the person who's not the Nazi. And in this case, this guy is not the Nazi. What's going on here? He said, you're lucky I signed that deal because if I were independent, I would break your face or whatever that. What's going on in this conservative chud convention? To continue, to lay the groundwork here, while support for the president and contempt for the left has united conservative media for years, Gaza has been a driving wedge between two of the right's biggest names. And honestly, I kind of disagree with that framing.
It's not Gaza. It's not Gaza. Listen, if Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson were anti-trans, anti-black, anti-Mexican, if that was their major sticking point, if they're like, we don't like anybody who comes from a Spanish-speaking country, Ben Shapiro wouldn't give a fuck, dude. Ben Shapiro would not give a fuck. It's only because Nick Fuentes' big thing and Tucker Carlson, every time he has a clip go viral, is because he's coming after Jewish people. So Ben Shapiro thinks he has to defend them, but he wouldn't stand up for any other marginalized group, right? He doesn't care if you hate the blacks or if you hate Chinese people or if you hate anything else. It's only when you start hating on Jewish people that he's like, we've got to stop this divide within our party and we got to get the Tucker Carlsons of the world won't win. Like, what the fuck?
Carlson does talk about Gaza.
But it has nothing to do with Gaza. Gaza was just like, hey, Nick Fuentes obviously knows that we can latch onto this topic and he can get more people. So can Tucker Carlson. Right? Because Gaza is obviously being fucked over by Israel. That's a gateway into this, into bringing people into this anti-Semitic far right bullshit that Nick does.
But Tucker Carlson is a dishonest, bad faith actor who has been lying for the past decade about every belief that he holds. There were text messages showing that Tucker Carlson didn't believe the election was rigged. Tucker Carlson in 2020 didn't like Trump, and he knew the election was not stolen. Yet he went on to Fox News every single night and said the election was stolen. Because of that, Fox News lost $800 million in a lawsuit, in a settlement.
This is Aiden Ross trying to get an NFL player, Puka, to do this. The little, like, he teaches him, he says this is a touchdown dance. So he has him spin the football like it's a dreidel and then flex your muscles and then do like this miserly thing with your hands that lots of people do to make them seem like they're Jewish and they're fucking greedy or got all the money or whatever. And the guy agreed to do it. He's like, yeah, I'll do that. It didn't know anything was wrong with it until everything else came up. And then he didn't actually do it. He actually did a different. So this is the touchdown.
Again, Nakul will take it to the end zone.
He does spin the ball and flex, but he doesn't do the hand thing.
Yards.
Oh, I thought that was going to be the dance. He doesn't do the hand thing, basically, and he come out. There it is. See how they're getting him to do this fucking like anti-Semitic bullshit. Aiden Ross is a piece of shit. But he has the backing of the Trump administration, of course, like all good pieces of shit. Because Trump's son likes Aiden Ross.
Because Tucker Carlson blatantly
He's a young, impressionable teen.
do not fall for whatever Tucker Carlson says. And it's so obvious when Tucker Carlson then has a Holocaust denier. I'm not talking about Nick Fuentes. He had another Holocaust denier on a few months ago who was questioning who the good guy in World War II was. Just think about that. He said maybe the good guys lost World War II, and Tucker Carlson did not push back. And then Nick Fuentes comes on the podcast and says some crazy stuff about Stalin, talks about Jewish.
And we all know, so they always frame this as, I'm just asking questions. There's nothing wrong with asking questions. That's what America was founded on. That's what debate's founded on. That's what blah, blah, blah. There's a difference, okay? There are people that genuinely want to ask a question and want to know an answer. Okay? Then there are other people that ask a very specific question to lead you to an answer. If I'm genuinely saying, like, what is going on with crime statistics? You know, when we see this percentage of the population, this percentage of crimes, is it something inherent? Is it something the way they're raised? Is it something to do with their neighborhoods? Is it something to do with over-policing? Are these people being convicted of crimes they didn't commit? Or I could say, why does 13% of the population commit 50% of the, you know what I'm saying? Like, there is just asking questions. There are people who genuinely don't know and will ask you questions. There are other people that are asking questions to lead you to their answer.
Jewish people in a derogatory manner, and Tucker Carlson does not push back. This is all
he's actually,
power.
Puka's really good.
Variety and to consolidate a movement. I get emails from people in my audience, and it scares me. People in my audience who say, Adam, you should listen more to Tucker. His heart is really in it now. I'm sorry, but I do not believe a word Tucker Carlson says, and you shouldn't either. But to continue, in recent months, conservative commentator Ben Shapiro has...
He's just dumb, but yeah, he's good.
In June, he said he disagreed with Carlson's views on American foreign policy in the Middle East. And in an interview promoting his book, he described Carlson as a part of a group of ideological scavengers whose politics are highly grievance-oriented. And this isn't me taking Ben Shapiro's side here, but Tucker is not a good fit.
Puka put out an apology for even doing the dance on stream, saying he didn't know it had anti-Semitic undertones or whatever. And then I guess the NFL retweeted it, or at least that's what I heard. The NFL retweeted it and whatever.
In recent months, Shapiro has told at least one person privately that he planned to denounce Carlson in a speech at Turning Point USA before Charlie Kirk was shot and killed. Now, they didn't know if it was...
So Shapiro's been... I know those. I wasn't genuinely asking that. I know those answers. I wasn't genuinely asking the question. I was giving an example of how you can genuinely ask a question versus how you can ask a question and lead somebody to an answer.
Still going to happen, but it still happened. I want to show you this back and forth because the series of events is wild.
So Ben Shapiro was planning this even before Charlie got kirked.
Erica Kirk headlines the event. Erica Kirk was the big speech, the main speech. As she should be. I mean, she's the husband of Charlie Kirk. She gives the main headlining speech. Ben Shapiro is then the next person to take the stage. In my mind, this is an explicit endorsement from Erica Kirk to Ben Shapiro's message. Erica Kirk very clearly has control over the programming of her own Turning Point USA event as the head. So when Ben Shapiro immediately follows Erica Kirk, I take that as an endorsement of Ben Shapiro's message from Erica Kirk. Then Tucker Carlson takes the stage about one or two speakers after. There's Russell Brand in the middle. Russell Brand like melts down on stage, does his weird shit. And then afterwards, Tucker Carlson comes back and directly swings at what Ben Shapiro said. Let me play you the 90-second clip that's going viral of Ben Shapiro calling out Tucker, like to his face. Like Tucker's like waiting for his speech in the audience. He's about to go on, and they're battling with each other at TPUSA. That's why this article says MAGA honors Charlie Kirk by fighting like dogs at his big bash. Let's watch this clip.
But even if it were true that other public figures were our best friends, our very best friends, that does not relieve us of our duty to speak out of principle and not to cover up evil or shy away from addressing it out of friendship. So no, Tucker Carlson, it is not an excuse to go silent on Candace's targeting of TPUSA.
Ooh.
Or to mirror her bullshit lines of questioning because you love Candace personally. The same holds true of Megyn Kelly, a person I consider a friend, characterizing Candace as a young mother and thus shying away from condemning her actions or feeling about them. That is a non-starter. Meghan Markle is a young mother. Ilhan Omar is a young mother. That doesn't matter. And when Megyn said this week, quote, my goal and my job here is to try to understand, yes, where Candace is
You're talking about Deshaun Watson?
coming from on this, and says she sees no purpose in inserting herself, quote, into this on one side, that is a moral and logical absurdity. There is only one moral side here, Erica Kirk's side.
There's only one moral side here, Erica Kirk. So he's calling out everybody, Candace Owens, and he name drops Tucker, and Tucker's there as a speaker. And like Adam said, the fact that Ben Shapiro goes on directly after Erica means like she co-signs this message more than she co-signs whatever the fuck Tucker says later.
You know, the side of the widow with 2 children, whose husband was shot live on camera in front of all of us. Friendship with the person accusing TPUSA of a cover-up of Charlie's murder is no excuse for cowardice.
So he's essentially calling other speakers cowards at this Turning Point USA event, a direct rebuke to other speakers. Now, Tucker Carlson takes the stage 1 hour later and not directly, but indirectly debates the words that Ben Shapiro said an hour before. I guess for it to be directly, they would have to be debating one-on-one, but they're like taking jabs at each other like schoolgirls, back and forth on stage. So after Ben Shapiro gives a speech, a young student comes up and asks him about the USS Liberty. It's a conspiracy theory that Ben Shapiro shoots down.
During your speech, truth as the most important tenet of American conservatism. Why, therefore, did you call irrelevant the Israeli attack in 1967 on the USS Liberty, which left dozens of American servicemen dead?
So even getting pulled down into the weeds, he loses. Like Adam's going to say the same thing. Even getting pulled down into the weeds and discussing this, he loses. Right? Even though he does a good job fact-checking this guy.
And hundreds wounded.
So what I actually said is that if we're looking at modern Israeli-American relations, looking at an attack that happened mistakenly by multiple Navy reports, multiple Israeli reports, and all available evidence, and using that attack in order to undermine today's relations between Israel and America, that's irrelevant. As irrelevant.
If you're wondering what they're debating, it is a highly contentious conspiracy theory online that Israel and the Jewish people intend.
This is one of the easiest ways you can find a brand new groiper or whatever. So Mariah has a family member, and as soon as I saw this post, I knew, right? And went and started looking at his shit. And of course, he's Candace Owens. He's got clips from Nick Fuentes now. The first thing they said is like, oh, if we're going to start being honest about stuff, why aren't we being honest about the USS Liberty? Like it is not even a dog whistle. It is just like waving the flag of I just found Candace Owens. I just found Nick Fuentes. I just found Tucker Carlson, and I like it.
Intentionally want to kill U.S. soldiers and did so back about 60 years ago in the form of the USS Liberty. Now, I first heard this in like a Nick Fuentes far-right debate that I listened to a lot of debates, obviously, and I've only heard this being pushed by far-right Nick Fuentes fans. Here's the thing. There's a difference between just asking questions or by posing questions versus trying to lead a horse to water by posing questions that don't exactly give the prescription, but lead you to the prescription.
Oh, thank you, Autumn. Jake Paul makes AJ look like fucking Sonny Liston. Holy shit, huh? Yeah. Fucking insane. Thank you very much for the donation. I appreciate it.
Say something. Imagine a far-right person says, isn't it weird that black Americans commit more crimes than white Americans per capita? Now, they'd say that they're just asking a question. They'd be like, oh, it's just statistics. I'm just asking a question. But no, when you ask a question in that tone, isn't it weird that black Americans do this? You're very clearly leading the horse to water. So the point here is, Tucker Carlson, for the past year, has been spreading this conspiracy theory with plausible deniability, and now Ben Shapiro gets confronted about it on stage, and he debunks it decently.
They're all slimy grifters who just say whatever they need to say to stay in good graces, basically, with what the political movement is. There are clips of Ben Shapiro talking about what a horrible fucking policy tariffs are, right? And then him also sucking Trump's dick about all the tariffs. Like, yeah, put them on everybody. Fuck them.
Using that attack in order to undermine today's relations between Israel and America, that's irrelevant. As irrelevant as it would be to cite a piece of evidence from World War II or from 1776 to define America's relations with, for example, Great Britain or Germany today.
Tim Pool's probably one of the worst blatant fucking, like, man, when he first started, like, Vice and shit, he was, like, left and liberal and this skater punk and even anti-death penalty. And now he's like, oh, the far left is shooting at my house and just crazy shit, dude.
That does not mean that the attack wasn't horrible for the Americans involved. That it wasn't.
By the way, the police have, so several authorities, media outlets have looked into Tim Pool's claim about the shooting at his house. It's kind of weird. It's almost 2 years to the day of the last shooting at his house, he reported. But anyways, basically, the police said, yeah, his security called and said there was a shooting. We went out there. We responded. They said they had security cameras. We asked for the security cameras. They refused to give them to us. So they gave us a vague description of a car, no license plate, no nothing, and just said, yeah, there was a shooting, but they wouldn't even fucking give us the goddamn security footage. His brother was the last one. That's not this one. His brother was the one in 2022, maybe.
bloody and terrible. The Israeli government paid reparations to the people who were killed. If you look at the actual military record of what happened on the USS Liberty, it was clearly a mistaken and tragic attack. The people who frequently cite the USS Liberty, however, are not talking about the specifics of the USS Liberty. I suspect that the vast majority of people who bring this up are doing so in order to suggest that Israel deliberately attacked.
The USS Liberty was a horrible fucking accident. Do I think that Israel went out there intentionally to strike an American ship? I do not think so.
American ship because Israel deliberately wants to harm America. It's connected generally with a larger point. I wonder if that's your point.
If the truth matters, then the Israeli government must be held accountable for that attack. The American flag was flying on that ship. You do not mistake an American ship for a foreign one when our flag is flying.
So, and we can spend the rest of the time talking about the specifics of the U.S. Liberty attack, or you can actually go look at the naval investigations that were done, multiple naval investigations that were done. The reality is that people were flying Mirage planes for the Israeli military at the time. The USS Liberty was sailing in an area where it had essentially gone off-grid. The Israeli military mistook it for an Egyptian ship. They thought it was shelling Al Arish, which happened not to be true. In the initial attack, the American flag was knocked down, and then the attack went on for about 90 minutes, and then...
Okay, Ben Shapiro is right here, and Ben Shapiro is doing a good job debunking this, but I just want to say, this is a loss for Ben Shapiro broadly. The fact that Ben Shapiro is even debating conspiracy theories on stage at a Turning Point USA event is indicative of how far the movement has slid down the right-wing, far-right rabbit hole. The fact that Ben Shapiro, for the past 5 years, has been trying to keep Nick Fuentes out of the movement. He's been trying to stop any of these groypers from entering the movement. Now, here's the thing. If Nick Fuentes' big thing was hating on trans people or Mexican people, Ben Shapiro wouldn't give a shit. He wouldn't keep Nick Fuentes out of the movement. But Nick Fuentes' big thing is how much he hates Jewish people. And Ben Shapiro has been trying for 5 years, 10 years maybe, to keep this out of the movement. He's been trying to act...
So basically, the last shooting that was his brother was basically they claimed that people were like driving by, blah, 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 and may have shot or something, but they heard a noise, like people may have been shooting at their house. His brother, which was kind of helping with security or whatever, was at his house and pulled his gun out and shot a warning shot. That's the only verified shot we've ever known about at Temple's compound.
As a bulwark, but now he is on stage at the most mainstream conservative events, and what do you see? You see far-right teenagers, or maybe that guy's a college student, asking these groiper questions. They call it getting groiped. He's getting groiped live on stage, and even though he debunks it, it's a loss for Ben Shapiro and for his wing of the movement as a whole. Ben Shapiro then went full scorched earth. He attacked Steve Bannon for being friends with Epstein, then he called Candace Owens, quote-unquote, retarded. Take a listen.
Steve Bannon, for example, accuses his foreign policy opponents of loyalty to a foreign country. He's not actually making an argument based on evidence. He's simply maligning people that he disagrees with, which is indeed par for the course from a man who was once a PR flack for Jeffrey Epstein. Check the record.
I don't know why the crowd is like booing like that. Ben
Check
Shapiro,
the record.
Again?
Because we have a duty to truth, we also have a duty to provide you with evidence of the claims we make. Emotive accusations, conspiracy theories, and just asking questions, that's lazy and stupid and misleading. None of them are a substitute for truth. None of them are a substitute for evidence. So, when Candace Owens says, I don't know, but I know, that is retarded. And we are all more retarded for having heard it.
Ben Shapiro not holding back at this event. Here's how I read it. He's been sitting here for the past year, let's just say 6 months, seething, really mad that Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes, and all of these people are gaining popularity. And I don't think it's good either. Listen, Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes, we need to be combating their ideas. But Ben Shapiro, it hits a little bit closer to home. This is the movement that he's a part of. He was friends with Tucker Carlson. So he's been seething very clearly for the past 6 months, probably been working on this speech for even longer. Remember, earlier in the video I reported that this speech was planned before Charlie Kirk's death. Earlier this year, earlier in 2025, Shapiro told private sources that he wanted to use this stage to challenge Tucker Carlson, and now we see that manifesting. He's challenging Ben Shapiro, he's challenging Candace Owens and Nick Fuentes as well, but he's going scorched earth. In this clip, we see Tucker Carlson then go on stage about an hour later and respond to the Ben Shapiro clip of him debating that college student.
To question your motives, actually, why can't you answer the question? Why can't you answer that question? Why do you have to imply that some...
So they're at the same event at the same day, just hours apart, and they're calling each other out. So he's saying, why can't you answer that question? Why is he not allowed to ask? You just call him Hitler or blah, 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 whatever.
College kid is like some kind of Hitlerite or something because he's asking about an event. Like, what? By the way, it is okay to ask questions. And I thought that was like the whole reason we were against the left. They're not going to force you to get up there and make ritual denunciations because this isn't my religion, it's politics. By the way, your politics do not trump my love for other people.
I genuinely hate this dishonest scumbag. First of all, Ben Shapiro wasn't just implying that this random college student was a Hitlerite, Hitler youth. The college student asked the question directly from the Nick Fuentes far-right conspiracy. Secondly, Tucker Carlson does the thing that I just called out, where he says, we're just asking questions, but that's not what he's doing. There's a difference between asking a question in good faith. Like, asking a question in good faith could look like this. It could be, what is a legitimate reason that so many US politicians have such a deep, it feels like, loyalty to the state of Israel? Is it just money? Is it this? Like, what is the actual reason? You can genuinely have a conversation about that. You can genuinely ask this question. You can do all of that. But the types of questions that Tucker Carlson asks, the type of quote-unquote questions is, isn't it weird that 14,000 ballots just randomly showed up in the state of Georgia after Donald Trump said it was going to be rigged? Isn't that weird? You guys get what I'm saying here? When you ask a question and you frame it in such a way where it leads the person to a conclusion, and then you claim that you're just asking questions, it's bullshit. You're not just asking questions, you are trying to lead them to a prescription.
They never are.
What I'm getting at this video is that there is a schism in the MAGA movement, and I'm not on anyone's side in particular, but I view Tucker Carlson as a bad faith actor who is trying to sane-wash the craziest of people like Nick Fuentes and other Holocaust deniers. Ben Shapiro, as a Jewish man, has every incentive to not let this type of bigotry enter his movement, because then he's fucked. He's next. It's like that one World War II quote where it says, first they came for the farmers, I said nothing. Then they came for the communists, I said nothing. Then they came for the Christians, I said nothing. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. I obviously butchered the quote, but Ben Shapiro is going through that right now. First, they went for black conservatives. He didn't say much. Then they went for these conservatives. He didn't say much. But now that he's the center of the ire, he is taking a huge stance. At the end of the day, on this channel, we're going to fight back against all forms of Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, all forms of bigotry, because we draw the line where bigotry starts. We don't draw the line when it starts affecting us. I'm gonna leave it there. I appreciate you all, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.
He wouldn't be against any of them unless it was because it's targeting the group that he fucking cares about, right? That's the only time he ever is. All right. So this is the video where we parked yesterday. I'll just let her say it. She can say it better than I can.
Look, Trump is...
She's really been digging into this ballroom.
As much, I feel like, is obvious. I made a video about this a few weeks ago, giving my thesis of what I think is actually being built, and that video got taken down on my TikTok after about 8 million views, so I re-uploaded it here. And if you haven't seen that one yet, I recommend going over and watching that, because it gives you a good basis for where we're starting out from. But I wanted to follow up on my theory, okay? Because in the original video, while I had some solid architectural analysis from Andrew Kerr, it was mostly based off of like a gut instinct, you know, in my own pattern recognition. And since then, I have been digging deep, scouring the web across databases and looking for records, and I have come back with actual receipts, like some actual verifiable public record receipts. And now my theory is stronger than ever, okay? Because I know that Trump is not building a ballroom. He's building an underground data center, and I have the receipts now to prove it. But really quick, if you want to read all of the sources and the documentation for yourself from this video, then they're all going to be linked at the bottom of my Substack, the Dre Dossier, and that's going to be in the description below. And your support means the world to me, so please like this video and subscribe to my channel, because TikTok is slowly going to the bad place, and I'm trying to build my presence here on YouTube so that I can keep doing this kind of work with you guys. So sincerely, thank you all so much. And with that, let's get into it. So you're probably thinking, okay, well, where did you even come up with this idea, right? And to that I would say, well, where does one come up with any evil genius idea? Larry Ellison, of course, my nemesis. You see, a few months back, I was doing a deep dive on Larry Ellison and his relationship with Israel and the war in Gaza. And it was during that research I came across something about Oracle building these underground data centers in Jerusalem in 2021. See, they were 9 stories deep under solid bedrock, about 160 feet underground, and designed to survive missile strikes. I mean, they were completely invisible from satellites. See, Israel needed data sovereignty, a place where their most sensitive military data could live that was physically unhackable and under complete government control. And when you're running these classified military operations, intelligence gathering, or government AI systems, you can't just have that data sitting in some commercial cloud that might be in another country or vulnerable to attack. And after learning all of that, I remember thinking to myself, all right, well, we're gonna just go ahead and put a pin in this for now, right? Like, this is all really fascinating, but I don't know what to do with any of this information, but I'm sure that it'll come in handy later. And later in handy did it come, because fast forward a few months and I'm reading about Trump's new ballroom announcement, and that pattern recognition side of my brain starts tingling. Why, you ask? Well, let me just read the specs out loud to you, okay? Because Oracle's underground facilities in Jerusalem were 90,000 square feet and cost around $319 million. Trump's ballroom is about 90,000 square feet and $300 million and climbing. Curious. And then on January 21st, 2025, you have Trump's first full day in office, and Larry Ellison is standing next to him and Sam Altman, and they're giving this White House announcement about Project Stargate. Now, I'm not kidding when I say I could write an entire dissertation on January 21st, because they gave us so much information in that announcement that I feel like, quite frankly, many of us just glazed over. And I've broken it down ad nauseum in other videos and over on my Substack, but the short version is this. Project Stargate is this $500 billion AI infrastructure initiative initiative for government operations, defense intelligence, and consolidating federal data across agencies. Because all of these AI initiatives Trump and his team keep launching need infrastructure. They need servers, power, cooling, and security. And then you look over to who's donating to Trump's ballroom project, right? And the coincidences just keep stacking up on one another. And so I'm sitting here thinking to myself, okay, if this is actually what's happening, right? If this is actually what's being built, then there's got to be some evidence somewhere. Like, you can't just build an underground data center without leaving any paper trail. And so I start digging, right? Because the first thing I want to know is who's actually building this thing. So their lead contractor is Clark Construction. And I went to their website to see what kind of projects they normally work on. And under their critical facilities division, here's what they publicly list. So you've got National Geospatial Intelligence Agency campus, a CISA cybersecurity headquarters, UCENTCOM headquarters at MacDill Air Force Base. I'm reading all of this thinking, okay, so these guys build some serious government facilities. Like, these are no joke. But
Sure.
I'm thinking, okay, well, if they're this comfortable touting these publicly listed, high security projects, then what aren't they listing? So I keep digging a little further, right? I'm going through these different government contract registries, procurement records, that kind of thing. And then bingo, I found some redacted contracts for Clark Construction, some top secret contracts, it looks like. And you'll never guess who they're for. Well, I mean, we can't guess because they're redacted, but I mean the type of job they're for. Guess what kind of job they're for. If you guessed data centers, you'd be correct. And it's not even like one or two of these kinds of contracts I found, right? Not even three. I found six redacted contracts for data centers that they built around the US. And again, I'll link all of these contracts in my Substack if you want to go check them out, but they're just listed as literally confidential client data centers 1 through 6. And the client names are obviously classified because the facilities themselves, I'm sure, are classified. I mean, Clark's own description of their work says that they focus on security and survivability, reliability and redundancy, and complex critical facilities. So the company whose specialty is building classified data centers for clients that they can't even name is building the ballroom. Okay, sure, Jan, sure. And here's where it gets even more interesting, because Clark Construction holds a NAVFAC contract, Naval Facilities Engineering Systems Command, with a $950 million ceiling. And the way these contracts work is admittedly very clever. So the total value of these contracts is public, but the individual task orders, like the actual work that's being done, that can be considered classified, which means they can hide the true value, cost, and scope of projects.
And he can keep it hidden all by himself. He doesn't need anybody else to sign off on it.
By funneling them through these pre-existing military construction contracts. So not only do they specialize in classified data centers, but they have a mechanism to hide what they're actually building. And then on December 4th, something pretty wild happened. Trump fired his ballroom architect. His name was James McCreary, and he was this classical architect who designs these beautiful churches and historic buildings, designing buildings like the Cathedral of the Most Sacred Heart of Jesus and the Supreme Court gift shop. I mean, say what you will about the guy, but he's got range. But alas, Trump replaced him with a different architect, a guy by the name of Shalom Baranes. When I say I went to look this man up and my jaw dropped to the floor, so a little background on him. After 9/11, when the Pentagon needed to be rebuilt and hardened against future attacks, they hired Shalom Baranes. Yeah, this man designed the post-9/11 hardening project for the Pentagon, the secure wedges, the skiffs, the bomb-resistant architecture. This was all Shalom. And skiffs, by the way, are sensitive compartment information facilities. They have electromagnetically shielded rooms for classified intelligence work and are built to survive missile attacks. And it's important you know what skiffs are because this comes back into play a little later on. And his portfolio doesn't stop there. It gets a lot more intense with DHS headquarters, Treasury building modernization, the GSA headquarters secure facility, the CISA cybersecurity headquarters that, yes, Clark Construction also built. Yeah, so these guys have rendezvoused together before. And at this point, I wanted to see if I could take a peek at what was happening on the ground. So with my last remaining week of my free Planet Labs subscription, I looked through some satellite imagery, and what I saw astounded me. And I saw that these flatbed trucks had been photographed delivering these massive steel caissons to the site. Now, from what I understand about caissons is that they are these huge cylindrical retaining structures, basically. You use them for deep underground construction. They're designed very specifically to hold back soil and water pressure.
She's talking about, and she's probably saying it right, but every time I've been in construction, we called it caissons.
pressure whenever you're going way deep underground.
But she's probably saying it the right way, and I'm probably wrong.
Wouldn't use them for just standard foundation. And then I saw this heavy lift crane that was like permanently anchored into a concrete pad. I mean, that seemed to be for some long duration construction involving heavy structural materials and lifts from a deep excavation pit. And all of this brought me to my next question, which is if this is actually going to be a data center, then that means they're going to need a massive amount of power because data centers consume insane amounts of electricity. So I started looking into what's been happening with DC's power infrastructure. And here is where it gets interesting. In August and September of 2025, just weeks after Trump's announced the ballroom in July, PEPCO filed emergency requests for infrastructure work near the East Wing. And this called for an emergency relocation of water infrastructure, large-scale water line modifications, and something called Champlain Substation Modernization, which I still haven't quite figured out what that means. But PEPCO's own language in the emergency filing says that there's a lack of alternative supply capacity in downtown DC. And now here's the thing about that. Downtown DC office occupancy has been declining since COVID. I mean, half the buildings are empty. In general, the commercial real estate market is shrinking, not growing. So where's this new massive power demand coming from? And speaking of infrastructure, DC Water increased their capital spending by $300 million, including a specific study of the Federal Triangle area. I found a post by the Washington Aqueduct, which is run by the Army Corps of Engineers, and they were warning that data centers are planning to use Potomac River water for cooling. So at this point, I've got the contractor who builds classified data centers, the architect.
Is he building a data center? Is that what he's doing?
Pentagon bunkers, physical evidence of deep underground.
Now, I don't think there won't be a ballroom. There will be. But what else is being built there?
Construction and massive power upgrades along with massive water upgrades. And so the next question I have is, who the hell is funding all of this? Trump says it's being privately funded, and the White House put out a rough list of donors, although most of the amounts from those donors is unknown. So, I mean, really, they could be donating anything from checks to cash to Bitcoin to their own product, maybe. And when I was looking for more information about these donors, I saw that the Carrier Corporation was bragging about how they're donating an HVAC system to the White House ballroom. And so this is interesting because I looked into Carrier and I saw that they have a lot of different products. They have residential AC.
It would take a shit ton of cooling.
Units, commercial systems, and all kinds of stuff listed on their website. But they also have something called Carrier Quantum Leap, which is specifically their data center solutions. Comprehensive energy efficient solutions for data center thermal management is what their website says. Now, if Carrier is donating an HVAC system and they're on a list with Microsoft, Amazon, Palantir, and all of these heavy hitters, then are they really donating a less than $100,000 ballroom AC system? Or are they perhaps donating the more expensive thing from their new line of solutions, the data center thermal management system? Because wouldn't that be a brag to say it's our thermal management systems that are cooling the White House data center? But that did get me thinking, like, if at least one company is donating a product on top of money, then I'm sure that there are others, right? I mean, who knows how many? So I decided to go through the donor list again, and this time with a different mindset, not looking for dollar amounts, but looking at what each of these companies do. And that's when I see one name jump out to me on this ballroom donors list, and that's Paolo Tiramani. And many of you may not be familiar with his name, but I'm sure you know his company, Boxable. Boxable is a Las Vegas company that makes these foldable prefab buildings, and they're about 375 square feet, and they come with electrical and plumbing already built in. Their whole pitch has been basically disaster relief and affordable modular homes.
Right.
But if you start looking into what Boxable has actually been building for the government, well, it's not just disaster relief housing. That's right, I found contracts showing that they sent over 150 units to Guantanamo Bay in 2021 and 2022. That's right, they've been working on Class 5 military installations, and their SEC filings mention government exemptions from normal state regulations, which means they have clearance to work in classified DoD sites, evidently. And that's when I saw that their units come pre-installed with Faraday caging. That's right, electromagnetic shielding, the kind of thing you would need for SCIFs. Remember SCIFs? I told you to remember SCIFs? Because think back to Oracle's underground facilities in Jerusalem. I mean, their own documentation shows that they use modular construction techniques for their own rapid deployment of internal infrastructure, prefabricated rooms that could be assembled quickly underground. And I'm seeing seeing names like Caterpillar on this list, where I'm sure that they've donated equipment like heavy machinery, excavators, and Caterpillar also makes industrial generators, the Cat 3516B models that provide over 100 megawatts of backup power. Union Pacific is also an interesting donor in that light because, yes, they're a railroad company, but what many people don't know is they also own 1,400 miles of classified fiber optic cables that run along the railway right of way. And it's those fiber optic networks that the Department of Defense have as their secure telecommunications backbone, and it's because they're air-gapped from the public internet. And then you've got Microsoft and Amazon, Google, Palantir, like every major cloud computing and AI infrastructure company in America that matters. You've got Booz Allen Hamilton, who builds classified networks for the CIA and NSA, Blackstone installing over 200 megawatts of backup power infrastructure. And then I started thinking about who's not on the list. You know, Baccarat Cristal chandeliers, Versace, Hermes, Tiffany silverware, like Steinway pianos, the brands that would kill to have their name associated with the most elegant ballroom in America. I mean, the kind of luxury that screams White House state dinner. I mean, none of them are here, which is when it all kind of clicked for me, because this is clearly not a list of donors for a ballroom. This is a supply chain for a data center. And if you're still not convinced about this data center infrastructure, well, Trump basically told us October 22nd, 2025, in the Oval Office, the direct quote was, "We're also working with the military on it because they want to make sure everything is perfect. And the military is very much involved in this." The military is very much involved in the ballroom? Jesus Christ. Oh, well, then that explains why Pete Hegseth has been purging all of our gay service members, because, you know, if there's one thing we know about straight men with a lot of testosterone, it's that they love giving their input on decorating ballrooms. It was just weeks after Trump said that very quote in the Oval Office that they fired the ballroom architect and hired the Pentagon guy. Okay, so what does any of this actually mean? Well, I think we should go back to the underground data centers in Jerusalem, because understanding why Israel built those might tell us why Trump is building one here, allegedly, supposedly, in my opinion. So Israel built those facilities for something called Project Nimbus, which is their government cloud infrastructure. And we've seen what this looks like in practice, right?
And they just forced the DOD onto their new AI bot or whatever.
I mean, the AI system that Israel's using in Gaza, the targeting systems, the surveillance infrastructure, the operational decision making, and that all runs on this underground data center network. I mean, we're talking full AI takeover, military operations, intelligence gathering, government AI information systems like banking, critical infrastructure controls, everything that keeps the country running. And they put it 9 stories underground because they needed it to survive, not just survive a power outage or a cyber attack, but to survive a war. I mean, they needed it to survive missile strikes and keep running no matter what happens above the ground. Because when you have your entire government running on AI systems, that is now the brain of your country, and you have to protect the brain of your country with a thick, thick skull. That's what data sovereignty looks like. That's continuity of government, and that's what AI warfare infrastructure actually looks like. And then I'm looking at Project Stargate, announced on January 21st, 2025, Trump's first full day in office, and Larry Ellison is going on and on about this $500 billion AI infrastructure that's going to save the government and cure cancer. But all of these grandiose ideas surrounding AI, all of that needs a home. And that's why I think it has to be at the White House specifically, because when infrastructure is a part of the executive office of the president, then it has to be classified, protected, exempt from oversight, and the president has to have direct access to it. And lest we forget, the East Wing sits directly above the Presidential Emergency Operations Center, the PEOC bunker. It's 5 stories deep, staffed 24/7 by military offices. And by demolishing the entire East Wing, they removed every structure blocking access to that bunker. And now they can expand it and go deeper or integrate new infrastructure if they'd like. And because it's at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, executive privilege covers all of it. I mean, think about it. The president controls what gets disclosed and what doesn't. I mean, this is what the government running on AI, with all of that power consolidated under executive control in a facility that can survive anything and Congress can't audit, looks like. And look, I'm sure they'll build a ballroom on top. You know, they'll host state dinners and take photos with world leaders in gowns and tuxedos, and maybe it'll even look fabulous. But don't kid yourself about what this was actually built for, because the ballroom isn't the project. The ballroom is the lid.
The ballroom is the lid. Pretty fucking scary, right? Or at least it was when I heard it. Who knows if it's true, but can't say I didn't warn you, okay? I'm so glad Jake Paul got his ass beat. You can't get me down. Even with our AI overlords.
I'm a physical therapist with a... This guy right here might have cracked exactly what's going on with Trump. I'm a physical therapist with a doctorate in my field and 14 years experience working in home health care, treating geriatric patients with dementia, just like the president. This is a Substack post from Dr. Frank George. You got to go check it out. The title is great. Damn it, it's not Alzheimer's. Here's why it's a far worse scenario. Now, Dr. George is a psychologist and a cognitive neuroscientist whose college-level course on malignant narcissism was done away with because of funding cuts. That's why he's on Substack now. He says someone with a big audience pushed a post claiming Trump is on an Alzheimer's-specific infusion drug. I will not be taking questions at this time. Thank you. He says Trump's symptoms don't align with Alzheimer's, but with frontotemporal dementia. A key symptom found in FTD is confabulation. This is seen when a person creates confident, detailed fabrications that fill gaps without any awareness that they're false. That's pretty fucking accurate. And he contrasts with Alzheimer's.
He has no idea. Like when he was telling everybody that the guy actually had MS-13 on his fingers, right? When Abrego Garcia.
Confabulation is much less frequent in Alzheimer's because Alzheimer's primarily affects memory storage regions like the hippocampus, causing forgetting rather than inventing. The result of confabulation, disturbing but true, is that Trump could likely ace a lie detector test as opposed to a cognitive test because he truly believes what he says. FTD patients believe their invented story is true. This is why he believes this award from FIFA is real. Now to the main physical symptoms of FTD. An awkward gait often shown by disposition or swinging of a limb, like when Trump swings his right leg when he walks. These are not seen with Alzheimer's. Brilliant. Number 2, patients with FTD also sometimes tilt forward. This is not seen with Alzheimer's. I mean, look at that.
That's insane, dude. The fact that that's not photoshopped, what the fuck is happening?
That's dead on. He says that watching Trump is witnessing a malignant narcissist without the brain's guardrails, judgment, restraint, empathy. Empathy, y'all. He has a brain disease that is destroying his ability to have empathy. And all the MAGA voters have this narrative and talking point that empathy is toxic and from the devil. And here are the things to look out for. Number 1, confabulation, of course. It's not lying. It's filling in gaps with invented memories he believes. Like the story about the snake bite deaths in Peru.
Oh, yeah. 28,000 people a year die from this snake in Peru. And it's actually 10 people over the last 15 fucking years.
What the fuck was that? Number 2, phonemic paraphasias. Speech sounds scrambled. Obama, United States, Communist Cuba. Number 3, tangential disorganized speech. Losing the thread, drifting into non sequiturs. Number 4, impulse control failures. The frontal lobes can't filter impulses. Quiet, piggy. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think Trump has 3 to 5 months left in the land of the living when you take into account his dementia symptoms, his possible history of stroke, TIA, heart failure, kidney disease. Thank you for your attention to this matter. This guy right here might have cracked exactly what's going on with Trump. I'm a physical therapist with a doctorate in my field and 14 years experience working in home health care, treating geriatric patients with dementia, just like...
Maybe he's got a lot wrong with him, you know? Maybe. I don't know.
This is the hired caregiver.
I think we've already seen that video, haven't we?
Hello, I'm U.S. artificial intelligence czar David Sachs. President Trump just banned states from regulating AI, and the Commerce Department is going to cut state funding from any of you that try. Hello, we're the attorneys general from New York, California, and Colorado. We're passing laws to protect workers and kids from the harmful effects of AI because Congress hasn't done a damn thing. Don't worry about it, national laws are coming. Congress had 20 years to regulate social media and failed. Why would AI be any different? It won't be, but AI companies inflate the stock market up.
And they've even kept states from regulating AI.
Bunch of them are donating to Trump's ballroom, and his kids are heavily invested in data centers. Got it. So kind of like crypto. Exactly like crypto. Hello, I'm U.S. artificial intelligence czar David Sachs. President Trump just banned states from regulating AI, and...
So apparently Bert crashed out tonight. You guys want to see it? Why does Rumble always think I'm not a human? He pulled it. He already pulled it down. We were all in there. I didn't see the crash out. He already deleted it. But I heard he freaked out because his shit wasn't working.
I'm telling you right now, I've told you guys before, our country is full of people who want instant living, instant potatoes, instant results, and they don't want to work for it.
Hear his audio. Listen.
Right now, I've told you guys before, our country is full of people who want instant living, instant potatoes, instant results, and they don't want to work for it.
They don't want to work for it. Like Bert. Bert doesn't want to work for it. Let's see if they... Bert's getting plenty of donations for beer, drinking beer.
Just resubscribed for 41 months.
Thank you. 41 months, a long time. Drinking beer makes Bert show his ass. Now we know why he acted like an ass on the show tonight. On our Bert telling his audience to kiss his ass for not donating enough gambling money. Oh, he told people to kiss his ass? Go donate to cold beer. That's right. Megan Bert tells his audience to kiss his ass. Your audience supports your lazy ass, Bert. Okay, so maybe we do have some clips of it.
Comments on, oh, you go back to the American flag. I put that American flag up so people couldn't tell where the hell I was. I was stuck in a little tiny little corner of the room. I've got this entire room as a studio. I feel like this is a new beginning for this show. But apparently the people that watch this show don't want a new beginning. They just want the same old stuff that they weren't paying a damn dime to see, but yet they got opinions. And the haters are going to go there. Oh, you got to go watch Bert tell his audience to kiss his ass.
Yeah. God, his audio is so bad.
I don't care. I can't get this stuff working right. I don't need to be here.
That's true.
I know you guys don't want to support the show because it's the holidays, and I can't make it better without some support. So
I can't fix my audio unless you send me money.
If we're still breaking up, I'm not going to bother wasting your time and mine for the rest of the night.
Bert loves to crash out. What's this one?
Snazzy Granny, I wouldn't kick you out for talking about 17. I blocked Halu for the rest of the show for being a pain in the ass. For asking questions so quickly that I can't read them. Questions that are just...
For asking questions so quickly I can't read them is what he said.
Questions that are just nonsensical questions. Complaining about the backdrop, complaining about this, complaining about that, bitch, moan, groan. If I wanted that in my life, I'd fucking get married. So they're gone. If the show's breaking up, then I guess we're just going to call it. Because I can't do it. I don't know. I don't know.
God, his audio is so bad. You can only hear half of what he's saying. Where he's hiding. Bert is advertised. Oh, this was from the other day. Another fake contest. Donate to Bert. He's going to have prizes coming soon if you donate to him.
In by Christmas time, because tomorrow will be the 18th.
Got to donate now so you can get it by Christmas.
In by Christmas time, because tomorrow will be the 18th, and there's a weekend involved in there. So I'm sorry, but we can't guarantee it before Christmas, but if you do want to make a purchase in the store, you simply scroll down, put it in your shopping cart, and take whatever items that you feel like you want to enjoy for the new year. I'm encouraging everybody who watches the show to go get you some merchandise and take a picture of yourself and send it over so that we can add it to our fan page, as this summer we are going to be doing some giveaways. And those giveaways are only going to go to people who made purchases in the store. And a way to purchase something in the store and still make a donation is to buy one of the logos. And we are working right now on some prizes that we think you really
prizes.
It's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be in the summertime. It's not going to happen here during the winter or in the spring, but spring and summer is when we're going to start announcing some of that stuff. Excuse me. So we really need your help in order to keep this show on the air. I just had to spend more money today to get. I'm forgetting what buttons run what. Here we go. I'm forgetting the buttons. I had
You guys want to be in Burke's fake contest?
More money today, and I'm.
Yes, Cran 45 is basically on her deathbed. She claims that she has cancer and nodules on her lungs and a spot on her liver, and it's all cancer, and she's dying. And then she's like, "But I learned my lesson with COVID. I won't go to a doctor, so who knows?"
To get better internet. I think it's great now. I don't think there's any problems now with this. Hello, Alex. Andre, she says, I'm late. You just missed the president's in by Christmas time, because tomorrow will be the 18th.
Got to send those donations in by Christmas time, guys. What will he do if he doesn't get your donations by Christmas time? Shit's getting deep in here. Listen to this one. What's this one?
So I don't care how many people figure out where I live now. I just don't. I mean, I've got a lease. I can't get kicked out. I'm well armed. And I've got a very good, defendable place.
What the fuck?
Crazy dance video before.
Yeah, ivermectin and findizabal or whatever the fuck they keep talking about.
I share with you some comedian material that is just hilarious. Now, let's start with these two guys.
Birch, a triple threat.
I don't think I've ever seen Michael Jackson make this move. I'm not sure that this move was invented when Michael was alive, but
Finn, what do they keep saying? Fenbendazole and ivermectin.
That if Michael Jackson saw this move, he would put it in his show. Because I'll be honest with you, I'm not a dancer. I was what was considered a triple threat in theater, actor, singer. I'm a double threat, actor and singer. Triple threat is actor, singer, dancer. A lot of musicals when I was in theater.
A lot of them.
He
was Annie, Little Orphan Annie.
I was in Grease. I played Danny Zuko. I was in Annie Get Your Gun, Tommy Keeler.
In high school.
Carousel, I played the lead, and Billy Bigelow. All of those required me to dance. And I did dance, but I never considered. I actually tried out for a musical at the Burt Reynolds Dinner Theater where I had to tap dance. And I did, and I got past the tap audition, but then...
Does anybody think you pass a tap dancing audition without knowing how to tap dance? He said, oh, well, I had been practicing for 2 weeks. Are you shitting me?
Unfortunately, I accidentally told the producer of the show that I had only been tapping for 2 weeks, and they cut me.
So you became a tap dancer in 2 weeks.
That's a long story, too, I could tell sometime. But if I could really dance, dance like dancers dance, I would learn to do this. And I would put this in my show. This is absolutely the cool.
You want to know what he's freaking out about? He doesn't show the video here. You want to know what he's freaking out about? This is absolutely the coolest dance move ever invented. And I've never seen anybody do it but this kid. Everybody on the internet's doing. This is the exact video. Hell. Here we go. Ready? So basically you're jumping off your back foot and pretending you're jumping on your front foot. Now watch. So it looks like you're walking on it. That's what he's freaking out about. The triple threat, Bert, is freaking out about a bunch of 12-year-olds airwalking. So you're jumping off your back foot, but you put your front foot up like pretending like you're on your front foot, right? Literally, there are tutorials on TikTok that'll teach you how to do this. Not this well, right? It'd take a while to get this well, but do it to where it looks like you're doing it in 10 minutes. God damn, Bert's a fucking loser.
At this point, I wouldn't be surprised to see Donald Trump advocating for...
Legend of Pretzel to just resubscribed for 38 months. Take that, Bert.
That's right. Resubscription to fucking piss off Bert.
The impeachment of Pam Bondi, because not only has she screwed up this entire Epstein cover-up, but she just screwed Donald Trump. The DOJ is breaking the law today by refusing to release the full Epstein files. But even with that said, even with Pam Bondi committing a crime she still wasn't able to cover up for Donald Trump, because although there were files after files completely redacted, there were some she just missed, and photos that are already haunting Donald Trump. We are going to get into the images that were revealed today that Pam Bondi accidentally let slip out the door and color the rest of what will be coming out of these files. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. And before we get into these photos that were released, clearly accidentally leaked out of the DOJ, I'm surprised if they haven't already taken them down. I want to start with the context we need on what is and is not coming out of this release from Nicole Wallace right here.
Some absolutely pivotal context to go over. 3 things to know up front ahead of a midnight deadline imposed on the Trump administration. First, the sheer size and scope of what the general public is about to have in its hands is colossal. A mountain of documents, hundreds of gigabytes of information, encompassing trip logs, financial records, interview summaries, paper and electronic documents, and on and on. It's going to take some time to work through all of it once we get it. A team of our colleagues are standing by to do just that, to go through each and every word on each and every page. The second thing to know about this afternoon's expected data dump is that, yes, we'll focus, of course, on what is actually in the release and what we're learning, but we'll also be on the lookout for what is not included. Remember, Trump's Justice Department is not voluntarily putting this information out. It was legally compelled to do so by a bipartisan coalition of lawmakers in Congress. The deadline this day, a tick before midnight. And yet this morning, the Trump...
People are not trying to say that once it was sent to Trump's desk, he signed it. He's like, oh, yeah, he wants them out. He said to release. He could just do that. Congress didn't have to make him do it. He could have just done that. Day one.
The administration made a rather startling admission. Here's Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche.
I expect that we're going to release several 100,000 documents.
Can you learn how to tap dance in 2 weeks? Is that possible?
Today, and those documents will come in all different forms, photographs and other materials associated with all of the investigations into Mr. Epstein. And so I expect that we're going to release more documents over the next couple of weeks. So today, several 100,000, and then over the next couple of weeks, I expect several 100,000 more.
Next couple of weeks, what? If you heard that and said, that's not what the law said, then you and that bipartisan coalition in Congress probably have something in common. Following those comments this morning, Democrats on the House Oversight Committee released a statement suggesting the Trump administration is in violation.
This was their deadline. Not 2 weeks from now. This is their deadline.
Of the law for failing to produce everything before tonight's deadline. Quote, for months, Attorney General Pam Bondi has denied survivors the transparency and accountability they have demanded and deserve, and has defied the Oversight Committee's subpoena. The Department of Justice is now making clear it intends to defy Congress itself, even as it gives star treatment to Epstein's convicted co-conspirator, Ghislaine Maxwell. Courts around the country have repeatedly intervened when this administration has broken the law. We are now examining all legal options in the face of this violation of federal law. Finally, though, the third and most important thing to keep in mind ahead of time, what we're expected to learn today is real life and the stuff of real life nightmares, trauma for hundreds of innocent women, some of whom were girls at the time, people who never, ever, ever asked for anything more than the truth to come out, never wanted more than justice. And today, although it appears there's still some work to do on that front.
It is very obvious that Pam Bondi understands that she will not be able to evade accountability here. She's going to do whatever possible, and certainly has, as every file that I've seen is just black page after black page, fully redacted image after fully redacted image. Of course. Carolyn Levitt is posting a lot about Bill Clinton, but she doesn't seem to care about any other president involved in the Epstein files. This release was so targeted, it was so obvious, but it's also so obvious how stupid the people in Donald Trump's administration are, that they let it get to this point, that they have allowed the narrative to consume them, when usually Donald Trump, and I don't like to give him credit credit on anything, but is often able to set the narrative, set what we talk about, set the conversation, set the terms. He couldn't with this. We've done it. We've taken the power out of their hands, and Pam Bondi, in an effort to rectify this all for her boss, has only screwed him. Because in a dump full of nothing, the accidental mentions of Donald Trump are that much more damaging. When you go and search his name on the DOJ website with the Epstein files, nothing comes up. But when you look closely at the photos, you begin to see that he does. And that's why he's panicked tonight. And that's why Pam Bondi's panicked and in big fucking trouble. Midas Touch posted, looks like at least some photos of Donald Trump slipped through the cracks, and the DOJ identified them in this partial, heavily redacted release. You can see Donald Trump, Jeffrey Epstein's home, with photos and photos and photos. Right there is Trump surrounded by half-naked.
Look at all these photos with Trump.
Women, more photos of Trump with Melania, photos of Trump everywhere at Epstein's home that are now being released and showing their closeness. They let it slip. There is no way that Pam Bondi meant for that photo to get out. But Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. It is impossible to dispute that at this point. Every time he's called it a hoax or fake or I'm not in it or what are you talking about or who's Epstein? I bumped into him once at a dinner. Donald Trump. And a photo that doesn't even appear to have Epstein in it. It's just a photo of Donald Trump with women at these parties. So what does that tell you? That Jeffrey Epstein was keeping photos of him and Donald Trump that he wasn't included in. He was keeping photos, Epstein was, of just Trump at his parties, at his house, engaged in this cabal of criminality. And so if that photo leaked, what is to come? That is the question that we ask. That is the question that we want to know. And really where my head goes is more so than just the photos or the footage. Of course, the footage of Epstein's prison cell that night is where my head goes. Thinking about Trump's cover-up in the first term. Because if they went this far, how far did they go then? That's what I want to know. But that requires continued pressure to be put on these people. It's what we are seeing from Adam Schiff tonight, calling out the criminality of Pam Bondi, talking about the next steps, and you're going to want to hear what the senator had to say.
Schiff of California, he's a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee and has called for an audit of who at the Department of Justice has handled all the Epstein-related records. I want to understand what you're looking for. Obviously, you sort of planted the flag on that audit, raising the question. We know they've been through all of the files at least once looking for Donald Trump's name. That was reported by multiple news organizations. Susie Wiles confirms in a series of 11 on-the-record interviews that Trump is in the files. But I wonder if you have evidence that things were tampered with or just concerns that they could be that led to that call for the audit.
Well, when I issued that letter, it was concerns that they wouldn't be forthcoming in what they were going to provide to the American people. And those fears have become all too realized today with this completely unlawful withholding of information from the Justice Department. It is a violation of the law. And I think, frankly, the remedies now have to be stronger than what I earlier proposed. I think we ought to bring Pam Bondi before the Senate Judiciary Committee, demand answers as to why the department has violated the law. It's not just that they had 30 days to go through this to do the production. They've had the whole year to do it. They promised to release the files. They haven't done it. They could have been completely ready for this moment, and they're not. Or they're just simply willfully withholding the materials. I think the Judiciary Committee should do its real oversight and bring her in and demand answers. I also think we need an Inspector General's investigation of what they've done and should ride shotgun on this to make sure that they're producing everything they're required to. We should consider other remedies, including litigation if necessary, but there needs to be accountability here.
What did you think they would do? I mean, are you at all surprised that they've been less than forthcoming?
I'm not surprised that they have withheld, but I am surprised that it is to this scale. What I imagine would happen is they would make a production today, and then we would have to fight to find out what was redacted and what wasn't. The statute requires them to make a report to Congress within 15 days about anything that withheld and what they produced. I think we should also demand that right now, because what Todd Blanche is saying is, we've given you some now, we'll give you some later, we may give you some after that. If they read the statute as saying that they can string this out indefinitely and wait giving us that cataloging what they produced and what they haven't, we may never find the answer to that question. So at a minimum, the Justice Department needs to produce that summary, that log right now. What have they produced now? What have they withheld? And why have they withheld it? And those answers need to be provided ASAP.
If you put back sort of your investigator-prosecutor hat on, Pam Bondi went on Fox News and told the host of a program there that the list is sitting on her desk. She does an about face before releasing any list. Kash Patel went on Joe Rogan and talked about 300 gigabytes of data, videotapes and pictures and whatnot. He testified before Congress that there's nothing, that basically Epstein didn't traffic any women to anyone. Let me know from the survivors if that is a lie. What do you think they are all, what do you think they see that turns Bondi and Patel into liars on the specific issue of the Epstein file, something they've talked about for years?
Well, the only one they really serve is Donald Trump. So they must see something in those files that they don't want to share with the American people. Now, it may not be evidence of criminality on Trump's behalf, but it may be evidence that embarrasses the president, reflects poorly on the president. And of course, written into that legislation is a very explicit prohibition on withholding anything for reasons of reputational harm to any elected official. So that is not a legal basis for them to withhold information. But I wouldn't be surprised if, as a practical matter, they have promised the president they won't release anything that makes him look bad, even if it comes at the cost of the victims getting the full information. And that's just not going to cut it. If we're going to do serious oversight, frankly, unlike what we've done so far, Bondi needs to come in and actually answer questions, not just use her time to try to insult or attack members of the committee. But we need this on a bipartisan basis. The legislation passed on a bipartisan basis. Both parties ought to insist on answers. And if not, I think the public needs to hold them accountable for this continuing cover-up.
We have to keep pushing, moving forward, calling into question everything that we see out of this administration and calling them out every single day. I am going to on this show, and if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Keep on fighting, y'all. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.
Yeah, it could be. I don't know. They're trying their best not to release anything damaging. There's even a statement. Here's their statement on their website. Hold on. Let me go back. In view of the congressional deadline, all reasonable efforts have been made to review and redact personal information pertaining to victims, other private individuals, and protect sensitive materials from disclosures. That said, because of the volume of information involved, the website may nevertheless contain information that inadvertently includes non-public, personally identifiable information or other sensitive content to include matters of sexual nature. In the event a member of the public identifies any information that should not have been posted, please notify us, blah, 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 blah. Like, get the fuck out of here, dude. The fuck out of here. They know. They know they're hiding shit for Donald Trump, but they can't do it forever, right? There's going to be investigations. There's going to be pressure. They're going to have to do something, and it only makes them look worse every time. Even if they never release it and someone has to go force them, makes them look worse every time they fucking hide it. If it isn't that bad, like they're claiming, they should have just put it all out there and took this fucking hit once. But to sit and take it again and again and again and again and again and again and again is probably going to get a lot more hate from people. All right, guys, I started late, and that's why we're finishing early. Sorry, it's only been about an hour and a half, but I can't stay out too late. It's 1:30 a.m., and I got to go see if they come and fix that tree that was falling down the road. I might not be able to get home. I had to have Mariah bring me my fucking chainsaw to get back to the house. Either way, thank you guys. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for being here. If you want to support the show, sorry I was late. I was watching the Jake Paul fight, but I am glad that we did watch it. Like to see Jake Paul get knocked the fuck out, and hopefully, maybe less people think it's like fixed now. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Seems like he just pays to win fights. I don't know. Either way, support the show at Just Quick Tools. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for being here. I'll be back early tomorrow. Have a good night. Talk to you later. Love you. See you. Bye. Oh, actually, I'm going Christmas shopping tomorrow. I'll be back maybe tomorrow night, maybe Sunday. I don't know. We're going out of town Christmas shopping. We haven't even done our Christmas shopping yet because, I don't know. We're horrible people. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for being here. See you in the next one. Send some money. I got to go buy Christmas presents. Donate to the show. Good night, guys.
But I can tell you this.
Send some money, piss off Bert. That's right.
See, this particular show, you don't have the fork and balls to call out the people on this planet by name and tell them exactly who they are and tell them the rest of the world who they are. You don't have the fork and balls. You don't have the balls.
Okay, Scott. Here we go. I think I started some shit. Listen off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best. You know that stage is set.
Hopefully, either tomorrow, when I come back next, hopefully I can start a show at like 9 or something and make up for being so short tonight, but we'll see.
Get the place in the best. You know that stage is set. You better.
If you want to see more content like this, go to the link, support the show.
Well, listen, bitch, I came equipped with a quick wit and a 6-inch.
Love you.
Well, my true believer, y'all need Jesus. Praise the Lord, head to the extreme. All these false fucking prophets who profit off of gossip. Worshipping drums, cocking, begging for a throat deposit. Swinging fucking meat hammers like four in a thong. He's strapped to the shaft, eating his chest like he's King Kong. Starving for attention, I'ma make your gut burst. I'll be your huckleberry, I can quench that thirst. Baby eating lizard people, alien sex. What's next? Trump in a dress, fucking Flynn on his desk. A retard in a vest, climbing up 5G towers. Cause you told him if he did, he'd get fucking superpowers. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss him off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen nothing yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss him off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen nothing yet. I used to find clues too when I was high on shrooms. I found myself a tunnel that led to Jason Q's bedroom. Open his closet, I found some of his meat rockets. I strapped it to my shoes and then I flew through the roof. I found myself in orbit strapped to an F-16. High on amphetamine, with Trump in between. Put on a light coat of baby oil and saluted the troops. He's